Hi there, welcome to the LNU show. This is your host Priya, and I can't wait to jump right into today's episode. But before we do that, real quick, if you haven't already liked or subscribed the channel, then please do that so that you don't miss any update from me when I upload a new episode, which is every Sunday. It's a teeny tiny favor that I ask for. It takes less than 2 seconds of your time, but it does a huge favor for me. If and only if you want to go an extra step, I would love to get your feedback. So please share that with me via comments, or you can DM me on Instagram or on TikTok. Both the links are in the show notes. This podcast is where I share my experience and leave you all with tips and tools to optimize your life on topics ranging from mindfulness, spirituality, building habits that help you with navigating a busy career, and creating your version of your dream life. All right, that's all the housekeeping items. Now let's get right in. Last week, I had the most life changing experience ever. I attended Dr. Joe Dispenza's week long advanced retreat here in Dallas. Now, before we get all into it, I'm going to assume that you are already aware of Dr. Joe's work on mind body connection, power to create your life and attract your future to you, and his work in neuroscience and epigenetics. So, I'm not going to spend a bunch of time explaining all of those concepts. But if you're not familiar with his work, I would recommend that right after this episode, you spend some time on the internet, try to familiarize yourself with what Dr. Joe has done in this field. He's a big name when it comes to neuroscience and epigenetics and law of attraction. And the reason why he outstands most of the crowd in that space is because he backs everything up with science and data. And now his team has doctors and scientists that work with him to, support all his studies with data. Now, I got introduced to Dr. Joe's work just a couple years ago. You all know that I'm a big podcast junkie, and I first heard about Dr. Joe on this podcast by Lauren and Michael Bostek called The Skinny Confidential, Him and Her Show. And then I heard Melissa Woodhealth and Mona Wand talk endlessly about his retreat. I have been following both Mona and Melissa for years, and I absolutely adore them and their infectious energy. And I was shocked that they needed to attend a retreat to deepen their relationship with mindfulness, and B, they came back transformed from that experience. I was like, if they came back transformed, then there is definitely something more for me there. So that's when I started reading more about Dr. Joe's work, and he started just appearing on my IG feed. And his books came coming up as suggestions, which was very random. My sister in law kept mentioning him. I went for this event earlier this year in Miami where I met with this girl who is now a friend who was going to his week long retreat in Marco Island in just a week from when we met. So there were signals that I was getting as reminders of Dr. Joe's existence from all these directions. And then what popped up on my Instagram was an ad saying that Dr. Joe was coming to Dallas for a week-long retreat. And I was like, enough. This is a big sign and I have to surrender and consider going to this retreat. I mean, he's literally coming to me. That's crazy. I didn't think much and I just bought the retreat within 2 days because I think they promised that you can still cancel and get a refund up until 30 days before the retreat. So I was like, I'm going to book this retreat. And if I feel differently, I still have time to cancel. And I'm so happy that I did. Oh, well, now that I came back transformed and a changed person, let's jump into what that week really looked like. It was a 7 day retreat. Day one was pretty light, but daily schedules included meditations, lectures by Dr. Joe, group activities, brunching, lunching, and dancing with the most amazing community, and a lot more. These retreats are usually held in great locations like, Cancun, Marco Island, Denver, and Nashville, and a lot more places. And they do a great job at picking these really nice locations and resorts for the retreat. So expect to be surrounded by nature and beauty and approximately 2,000 like minded people who you would connect like instantly. There were people who flew in from 72 countries for this retreat in Dallas last week. Now, that's huge. I was shocked when I got to know that there were people flying in from not just different states, but different countries. And I made friends with many of those. So, true story, my friends. You must be wondering, who is this retreat for? Well, I believe that anyone and everyone can benefit from getting familiar with Dr. Joe's work and these retreats. But if you're someone who is interested in personal transformation and spiritual growth and want to understand how science really backs it up, this retreat is for you. If you are someone going through a healing journey, this retreat is for you. I met with people who were suffering from diseases like terminal cancer, had tumors, suffered from PTSD, infertility, and a lot more, and were there to learn how to use their mind to heal their body. Now, every day there during the retreat, we had around 2 to 3 meditations. There were sitting, walking, and laying down meditations. We meditated for approximately 35 hours in total during the whole week. And I'm telling you, I used to be someone who just couldn't even meditate for more than 30 minutes at a stretch before the retreat. I even 2x'd the speed of meditations that Dr. Joe had sent us to practice before the week long had started. They were 1 hour long sessions, and I just couldn't imagine sitting in the meditation for a whole hour. So I just doubled the speed and reduced it to 30 minutes. Now I feel after the retreat that an hour is just a breeze. And that's when my body is just warming up for a better and a longer experience. But I told you, I came back a changed person. So there you go. Well, apart from the meditations, there were lectures by Dr. Joe on topics like rewiring your brain, leaving your old version behind, and integration of science with spirituality, and a lot more. And when I say lecture, I use that term very loosely here. These sessions were really entertaining and fun. I mean, Dr. Joe is not just someone big in law of attraction and spirituality. He is also a great storyteller. So he keeps the audience engaged. He is a funny man when it comes to, delivering stories. And we just did not feel like we were sitting in a lecture. I'm just putting that out there. When you say me hear lecture, they were just really entertaining sessions. Towards the end of the retreat, he also flew in some doctors and scientists from University of California, San Diego, to discuss how meditations really heal the body. We went through hundreds of brain scans and examples of people who had really changed the reality of their body through meditations by using their mind. It was a lot more than just Dr. Joe interacting with this group. It was a bigger group of people who we interacted throughout the week. There were some dinner sessions that were hosted by Dr. Joe and his team, which gave a smaller group a chance to interact with the scientists that he works with and his team. And of course, you could be invited to these dinners via donations, and they were optional, but very valuable as well, because you get access to have conversation with his broader team and the scientists that he worked with and still works with. Apart from that, there were 3 coherence healing sessions where, using the power of meditations and electromagnetic forces, we would heal people in the room who were going through some form of serious sickness. These were people who were just attending the retreat, but also going through some serious sickness. And when you apply for the retreat, there are sections in the form where you can indicate that you're going through some form of illness and you would want to go through this healing session as a Healy. And then there is this team within Dr. Joe's team who are health professionals, and then they get to study these cases and they handpick the individuals who get to become the Healies during these meditations. Now, I will not go into the details of this because I don't think that words can do justice to what we experienced in that room. All I'll say is that bodies were healed, hearts were opened, and tears of joy were shed. And I still get goosebumps when I think of it. And right now, when I'm, describing that session, I get chills. I get goosebumps whenever I think of that experience. It was just one of its kind. Now, you must be thinking that, yeah, all that sounds great and it's fun and it's life changing. But if I'm just curious, I can, just read Dr. Joe's books or listen to him on YouTube or his documentaries and learn all that I just told about. Why spend a week and a lot more money to get familiar with this, right? You're not wrong. If you want to familiarize yourself with the concept of spirituality and the science and just learn about Dr. Joe's work, there are some great resources out there. And I'll link them all in the show notes. His book, Becoming Supernatural, is a good place to start. He also recently launched a documentary called Source that you can watch on YouTube. I think it's paid. It was free to access for the first few weeks after it released, but now you need to pay some amount to watch it. And if you're still curious, you can buy his courses on his website, which I'll also link in the show notes. But I believe you just spend a few $100s and you can buy one of these progressive course where he touches upon almost all the lectures that he teaches during the week-long retreat in that course. It's approximately 30 hours long. It includes 5 hours of meditation. And also, I do want to call out that when you sign up for a week-long retreat, you get access to this course and you are required to go through all the lectures beforehand and then also take a test after the course as a prep for the week-long retreat. So there's a lot of prep work that you need to do before you are, ready for your week-long experience. And after I finished my prep work and my progressive course, I was like, there can possibly be nothing new that he can teach us apart from what all he covered in these 30 hours. And I was not completely wrong nor right. Let me explain. During the in-person week-long event, you completely immerse yourself in an experience. You spend around 10 hours in a room with 2,000 people with similar goals and mindset every day for 7 days. You eat the same food as everyone else. You experience live meditations from Dr. Joe. And since he's so damn passionate about his work, he goes an extra mile to make sure that you get all the meditation techniques right. He brings in his team on the stage and he demos how should the breath work really look and feel like. You have access to Dr. Joe's meditation experts throughout the week. So if you have any additional questions regarding how you feel during the meditations, or if you feel you're not really getting it right, you can reach out to them during breaks throughout the day. You hear transformation stories from people firsthand. That was a big one for me because, even after taking the 30-hour course, there was a part of me that was still skeptical. I was not completely sold on the idea that you can really heal your body or attract your future to you just through meditations. But I met people who were back for the retreat for, third time and the fourth time. I met this woman who was there for her 7th retreat. And they just had inspiring transformation stories. But the cherry on the top for me was the connections, the friends that you make. At least I made 2 friends, if not more, that I can tell will last for a lifetime. And if they are listening, they know that I'm talking about them. So I'll just say that every penny that you spend on this retreat is worth spending. Now, I shared all the fun and good parts of the retreat. Let me tell you about the other side of it. Where there are roses, there are thorns. So I don't just want to paint a rosy picture for you all. Let me give you the ugly side of it too. Well, Dr. Joe Dispenza is a master at pushing limits. He forces you to get uncomfortable. Imagine 35 hours of meditations in 1 week. It was not easy. It was not easy at all. There was one meditation in particular that lasted for 5 hours. I know. I can see you all frowning right now and raising your eyebrows right now at me. And there are like 2,000 people in one hall, and everyone is going through their experience of these meditations. And needless to say, that there are distractions. You know, there's you trying to focus on your meditation while there are other people coughing and crying and laughing. They're in pain. They're making noises that sound like mind orgasms. I don't know how else to say this, but anyone who has been in that hall knows exactly what I'm talking about. So it's distracting as hell in there. It's cold in there. You are lying on the floor with probably a thin sheet under you. It's uncomfortable. But that's also where you surrender to the reality and just go with the flow. That's where the change happens. But it's not easy, like any change in life. There are also people in there who really don't believe in Dr. Joe's work. Now, I questioned throughout the week, like why they were even there, but just know that that's also a kind of a distraction. I remember I got up from a meditation one day. This was probably day 5 or 6. And the guy next to me was lying there with his e-cigarette and was super anxious and moving around during the whole 2 hour long session and made it impossible for me to focus on my meditation. So there are those kind of distractions as well. The days are pretty long. They start very, very early. You're required to show up before 6 a.m. most of the week. And one of the days you are required to be there at 4 a.m. And once the doors close, Dr. Joe does not allow them to be opened again if the meditation has already started. So if you really prioritize your sleep or comfort over life transformation, then this retreat is probably not for you. So, to conclude this episode, I would say that this retreat was one of my most transformative experience that I've ever had in my life. I would definitely recommend that you go there with an open mind. You definitely come back as a changed person. You'll also make connections that will last a lifetime. I'll also share some clips and pictures on my social media if you're interested for a sneak peek. I think I already did share a few clips from our walking meditations on my TikTok, and I had people who reached out to me asking for more information, and they just shared that they have been thinking about going for the retreat, but they're not sure yet. I do highly encourage you all to do your research and get familiar with Dr. Joe's work, and only then book for a week-long retreat. It's a big commitment. It's a big financial, emotional, and time commitment. So make your decision wisely. I'm happy to do a follow-up episode to go deeper into the topics that he covers during the retreat. If you are interested, you can let me know through comments on this episode or again, DM me on social. I'll also bring in a few guests on the podcast who attended the retreat with me, and I'm really, really looking forward to that. So hopefully in next few weeks. And as I said earlier, there are many resources on Dr. Joe's work that are out there for free or at a minimal cost. So if you're still unsure about the retreat, those are a great place to start. They're all linked in the show notes, so please do go spend some time in the notes and see what's for you and leave behind what's not. That's all I had for today's episode. I hope that you all liked it. I hope that it added value and answered some questions for you. I'll be back next week with another episode. Till then, you all take care and enjoy your week. Bye.